Welcome to Miami Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. Things are getting very interesting surrounding the Miami Dolphins in both the AFC East, current and long term, but also the NFL playoff race as the Dolphins are 4-6 heading into Week 12 where they host the New England Patriots, a fellow AFC East foe. And before we get into everything surrounding the news and Miami Dolphins, I want to make sure everyone's following us on Instagram at Dolphins Today IG. We said when we got 500 followers, we were going to do a IG mailbag. Well, that time is now. I am putting out the post asking for questions today. So make sure you follow us. Make sure you go to that post and reply with a question to be potentially featured on a segment later this week that is specific to Instagram questions around the Miami Dolphins before NFL Week 12. All right, let's get into the first piece of news in the AFC East. And the Jets once again made a change in their organization. We saw Robert Saleh get canned a month ago. Well, they got rid of their GM, Joe Douglas, in New York. It will be a complete reboot for New York. And boy, oh boy, what a disaster by the New York Jets. You go all in. You acquire Aaron Rodgers last year. He tears his Achilles on the first drive of the season, misses the year. Come back this season with a bunch of hope. You draft Olu Fashanu in the first round. You make free agent signings like Tyron Smith. You get a Mike Williams. That doesn't work out. You trade for Devontae Adams. That's not working out. The Jets are 3-8. They are one of the worst teams in all of football, and they have committed a substantial amount of resources financially to win right now. And the fact that they aren't going to win is laugh out loud funny. But the reason why we are bringing this up on today's show is the long-term impact it has for the Dolphins in the AFC East. Rich Cimini here, with a totally new regime in 2025, it likely means Aaron Rodgers won't be back. A new GM and new head coach will probably want their own quarterback. Rodgers has a good relationship with Douglas, and last week he advocated for Jeff Ulbrich, their interim head coach, and it's hard to imagine him wanting to even be back with the Jets. So it feels like the Jets are going to go full rebuild, full reboot. New GM this offseason, new head coach, potentially new quarterback as well. As a Dolphins supporter and fan, it feels very, very nice to see the Jets ultimately implode. But it is important not only for this season, but the future of this AFC division, because the Bills are still there. The Dolphins kind of cement themselves as that number 2 team right now. And the Jets, I would anticipate, being the worst team in the division this season as they continue to spiral downhill and beyond. And the New England Patriots are a team that we're going to talk about here in just a second, but they're struggling right now. But it's nice to see the Jets absolutely stink. And it looks like they won't be threats in the AFC East for the next couple of seasons. If they do go full rebuild, they're going to have to find a new quarterback. That defense is soft as shit. They can't tackle. Sauce Gardner is spending more time in the offseason working on his golf swing than his actual technique and is not a top 5 corner in the NFL anymore. This team is an utter disaster in the Meadowlands, and it is very fun for us here at Dolphins Today, but it is very fortuitous for Miami because it will help them have a less competitive division in the next couple of seasons as they try to open up their win now window with Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill, and some of these veterans like Jalen Ramsey. Before we transition into another piece of news in the AFC East, the New York Jets are an absolute disaster. It's fun to witness. It's fun to laugh at. It's good to know that no matter how serious the world can get, we can always sit back and laugh at the New York Jets. Type those LOLs down in the comment section to clown the New York Jets. Well, let's transition over to Week 12 because the Miami Dolphins do host the New England Patriots. They're 7-point favorites early in this week, and I am a betting man. Shout out to DraftKings, and I got to be honest, the 7-point spread is a little bit interesting, but it is our first look at rookie quarterback Drake May, the 3rd overall selection out of North Carolina. Remember, the first time the Dolphins played New England this year was back in Week 5 in Foxborough when Jacoby Brissett was still the starter. And that was actually the last game Brissett started for New England after the Dolphins won that game. May was implemented in the starter. And long term, I'm concerned about New England. This week, I still think the Dolphins win, but it will not be no pushover game with Drake May at quarterback. And he is getting praised around the National Football League right now. Dan Orlovsky from ESPN says that he won't win it because the team isn't good enough, but talking about the play, Drake May should absolutely be in the Offensive Rookie of the Year conversation. His tape is flat out awesome, and then he added New England. But I'm not going to lie, watching the tape, watching some of the highlights of our division foe, he's not lying. Drake May has played spectacular football considering they have the worst offensive line in the entire NFL. They have the worst weaponry group in the entire NFL as well. Like, it's worse than the Panthers. It's worse than some of these other teams out there like the New York Giants. And Drake May is still making that offense look at least watchable. It's not average. It's still below average by quite a margin. But this will be a tougher game for Miami this week with the dual threat ability of Drake May plus the arm talent. Luckily, he's still a rookie and will still make some rookie mistakes. But we're going to talk more about the Patriots and their long-term potential issue with Miami in just a second. But we are sponsored by Public Rec, my new favorite clothing group, and I love me some Public Rec. Let's be real, guys. Wearing pants sucks. Who decided that stiff, uncomfortable fabric digging into your family jewels was necessary to go out and look put together? Whether you're kicking back with holiday movies, making your way through leftovers, or watching bowl games with the boys, the Daymaker pants have you covered. Heck, they'll even keep you looking sharp for that awkward holiday party with your in-laws. Give the gift of comfort to yourself or someone you love this holiday season with Public Rec's Daymaker pants. And for a limited time, you can get 20% off your entire order with code CHAT20 at publicrec.com. That's 20% off when you use promo code CHAT20 at publicrec.com. And they make more than just pants, fellas and folks at home. They got unbelievable apparel. They got polos, hoodies, long sleeve tees. I'm wearing this one right now. I can't get enough of it. I can wear it hanging out with friends, at home hanging out, lounging, going out in public, here at work. It doesn't matter. I love repping Public Rec, and their Daymaker pants are no joke. They have the perfect style and blend of comfort and looks. Public Rec is my absolute favorite new brand to rep on the daily. And like I just mentioned a second ago, they have a great deal for the fans here at Dolphins Today. Stop suffering in regular pants and give the gift of comfort this holiday season. For a limited time only, our listeners get 20% off when you use code CHAT20 at checkout. That's 20% off with the code CHAT20 at publicrec.com. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Say goodbye to pants that put up a fight, because when comfort meets style, you found Public Rec. More on the rookie from North Carolina and Drake May. Louis Riddick, another ESPN analyst, breaking down what makes him so special. 10th in completion percentage, above expected, and 13th in total QBR. This is a player that did not start until week 6 and had his first game against an interesting defense in the Houston Texans. He has been phenomenal in the 7 games he's appeared in this season, completing 66.8% of his passes. He has 10 total touchdowns, 9 through the air, 1 through the ground. He is going to make those rookie mistakes. There's no doubt about that, and that will help Miami this week against New England and Drake May. 6 interceptions. He also is privy to getting strip sacked. But that dual threat ability is what scares me. 260 rushing yards. And I'll tell you what, the Dolphins have struggled with dual threat quarterbacks in the past. Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray. You've seen Anthony Richardson give him some issues. Obviously, Josh Allen. I am not happy that Drake May is in the division. I'm not. It's an absolute unfortunate event to happen to Miami where they have this guy in there, because he really looks like a young Josh Allen right now. And I don't really love the fact that we could have Josh Allen and then a Josh Allen type player both in the division. Like, that's not great. And the reason why I wanted to bring it up today is because we're talking about the future of this division with the Jets kind of imploding and the Patriots on the rise, your opponent this week. Well, guess what, folks? Not only do the Patriots look like they have their franchise quarterback in Drake May, and we'll get our first look at him in person this Sunday, they also have the first and most amount of cap space this upcoming free agency. They have $139.7 million in cap space. That is first by about $20+ million. And you might say, well, that's going to go down once they extend people. Well, this roster stinks. How many people are they really going to extend right now? They don't have a lot of people to pay. They're going to go out and be able to revamp their entire roster. I've already looked ahead of it. I think T. Higgins, who's an impending free agent, not likely to return to Cincinnati, is probably going to go to New England because they'll pay him the most, and he'll probably want to be a wide receiver 1 with a QB like Drake May, assuming he continues to impress for the rest of the season. They'll have a lot of money to spend on their offensive line. I'm telling you what, I don't want to be negative Nancy around the Miami Dolphins, and I know this is a Dolphins show, but I did want to talk about the division rival, New England Patriots, potentially being on the rise over the next year and a half. It would not shock me with the moves they make in the draft, because they'll have a lot of draft picks and they'll be up there in terms of top 10, top 15, and the cap space they have. If they're a wild card team next year and make this division more competitive than it is this season, even if the Jets continue to stink. All right, be honest with me. Are you like me? Are you concerned about the Patriots long term as they continue to rebuild with Drake May and all that draft capital and cap space? Type Y for yes or type N for no. All right, we'll round out the show today with a Dolphins playoff picture and how things stand after Week 11 with 7 games remaining for the Miami Dolphins. And shout out the Dolphins Muse on X, a watcher of the show, saying this after the win on Sunday against the Raiders, that after today's win, the Dolphins' playoff chances are as follows: 10% by Next Gen, 28% by The Athletic. You see the other ones over there, but none higher than 28%. And where things currently stand in the playoff race, you basically can throw the division out of the story, because I don't think the Bills are going 1-5 in their next 7 games. And even if they did that, well, the Dolphins would have to go a perfect 7-0 to take over the division. So it's really wild card or bust for Miami. So they're trying to track down either Los Angeles, Baltimore, or Denver. You hope that Indianapolis at 5-6 kind of just runs out of their own little way and they kind of get out of the playoff picture, which I would project. But they are ahead of Miami right now. Now, the schedule for Miami is pretty favorable. You have the 29th hardest strength of schedule, which means you have the 4th easiest schedule remaining this season, with 4 games coming against bad teams. New England this Sunday, 2 against the Jets, 1 against Cleveland. If you want to win and get into the postseason, you are going to need to go 4-0 in those 4 games and go 2-1 against the teams Green Bay, Houston, and San Francisco. And if I'm going to be honest, if you really want to make the postseason, I think you got to win the next 2 games. Now, are you mathematically eliminated if you go 1-1 over the next 2 games? No. But to me, it's going to require 10-7 to make the postseason, and you might need tiebreakers as well to get into the postseason at 10-7 if you're tied with Denver, Baltimore, or Los Angeles. But winning these next 2 games, if you're able to beat New England, which you should be at home as 7-point favorites, and then you get the upset on the road on Thanksgiving in Green Bay. You do that, you're 6-6 with 5 games to go. And all it would require is going 4-1, and that means all you have to do is beat the Jets twice, Cleveland, and split with Houston and the San Francisco 49ers, 2 teams really kind of struggling. Like, it's very doable. So to me, the next 2 games are the most important. You take it 1 week at a time. You treat every game like a playoff game if you're the Dolphins. But you win these next 2 games, and we are going to be very excited about where things are heading down the stretch of this season. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Dolphins Today. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, because we're still dropping content on the daily, as well as going live for every Miami Dolphins football game. So join us this Sunday for our Dolphins Patriots Week 12 watch party.